Bringing people and communities together on seclosounds.org.
Your listening station. I hear a wind with Ellen air whispering in my ear. Oh, Mercury, she's
Hello dear listener, and welcome to the Guinn Travel Show on seclosounds.org. As always, you can contact me via facebook.com/Guinn Travel Show or via Twitter, which is at holiday_hut. Any websites mentioned in today's show will also be available via the facebook.com/Guinn Travel Show page, so if you don't get them down, just pop along there and you'll be able to find them. On this show, the main feature is an interview I did with the British Virgin Islands Tourist Board, so later on you'll be finding out what a great destination this is and why you should go there. There'll be some travel news about delayed flights and the European Commission hopefully making compensation claims easier by clarifying what is an extraordinary circumstance and what an airline should be responsible for. We're talking about the mass exodus over the last weekend because it's the beginning of the school summer holidays. And I'll be talking about search engines and how you can get the most out of a search engine. In fact, search engines are what I'm going to start with right now. I'm sure all of you use Google, and perhaps when you're looking for a holiday you go cheap holidays and then hit search. But if you've done that, you know that an awful lot of responses come back. There are ways, without having to go into the advanced search part of the Google, to narrow down your choices as quickly and quite easily to ensure you're not fed with loads of replies which are no good to you whatsoever. So the internet has a vast amount of information available, but finding what is useful can sometimes be like finding a needle in a haystack. For example, when I did a search for holidays, I got 873 million results. Cheap holidays, 332 million results. Cheap holidays in quotation marks was nearly 6.5 million. Cheap holidays minus Spain was nearly 5.5 million. And what does minus Spain mean? Well, first of all, the quotation marks reduces the number of results as only the pages that contain the phrase cheap holidays together are listed. If you just put cheap holidays, then any web page that has the word cheap and the word holidays on it might not even be in the same sentence, will come up as a result. So the quotation marks looks for certain phrases. And the minus phrase helps you remove countries you're not interested in. So minus Spain, and there must be a space before the minus sign, but it must be immediately in front of the word you want to put in as a filter. So it's minus Spain, not minus space Spain. It means that any response which has the word Spain in the page won't come up as an answer. So you won't be given loads of holidays in Spain, which is no interest to you. You can also remove entire websites as well. So you could have Spain minus site guardian.co.uk, and that would come up with results for Spain, but any Spain articles in the Guardian website will be discounted. You could also use the OR operator to narrow your searches down. Cheap holidays Spain or Germany will show pages that either have Spain or Germany in, so you won't get cheap holidays in France. If you don't use an OR, so you just had cheap holidays Spain, Germany, it'll be pages that have the word Spain and Germany in it. And also you can search the contents of one particular website. So you can put Spain, space, site, lonelyplanet.com, and it'll search for the word Spain on the pages of the Lonely Planet website. There are exceptions to the search rules about punctuation and common words such as and the when using searches. And if you're having problems doing a relevant search, then remember to check the search engine's tips or frequently asked question pages. Or of course you can set up a Google alert. So as soon as Google comes across a website which is of interest to you, it will send you an email. If you go to google.com/alerts, you can set that up. It's very easy. I have happening all the time. If a customer's got a place of interest, that country keeps coming up as an alert. So if I know there's a sudden crime wave or a new hotel or a carnival, anything, it will come up and I'll get the response. So just a few ways you can help search for your ideal holiday using a search engine. And of course you should always check the frequently asked questions because there is guides there to help you make the most, whichever search engine happens to be your favourite.
Oh yeah.
This is Howling Dig. And if you enjoy the blues, you're really going to love Wednesday nights on Seclo Sounds. I'm going to be playing the best in American roots, boogie and gospel, featuring music by the greats and some of the not so well known. From Charlie Patton to Eric Clapton and beyond, if it's blues, it's going to be here. So please, join me, Howling Dick, Wednesday nights at 8 o'clock with blues from the MK Delta, here on seclosounds.org, bringing communities and people together.
If you listened last week, you may remember I had a spokesperson from Luton Airport on saying how to get through security quickly for the school summer holidays. Well, this is the reason why. ABTA estimate that 2 million British holiday makers would have headed overseas over the last weekend, 26th to 29th of July. Airports in the South East are expecting a very busy weekend, with nearly 500,000 passengers departing from Heathrow, 276,000 from Gatwick, 125,000 from Stansted and 70,000 from Luton. Be over 100,000 people escaping Scotland, including 50,000 from Glasgow. And from Manchester, which you may or may not know has the most direct routes than any other airport in the UK, is expecting 160,000 to depart. Even Eurostar gets in on the act with around about 70,000 passengers last weekend. With all these people going away, I may not have many listeners today, may I? At least they'll be able to listen to the podcast. If you need the podcast, it's www.spreaker.com. ABTA said that Spain remained the number one destination for British holiday makers this summer, with Balearic and Canary Islands selling especially well. ABTA have said that Greece and Turkey are also popular, and with the trouble in Tunisia over the weekend with the cancelled flights on the Friday, perhaps people are wishing they hadn't booked Tunisia. Florida is the number one long distance choice for families, and Mexico and Cuba still have a strong demand. There are still people staying in the UK. The weather we've been having over July has boosted domestic bookings, and there's a last minute demand for the Channel Islands, Lake District, and of course Blackpool, Bournemouth and Brighton, the old favourites. Travel Counsellors, a home-based travel agency, did a survey of 1,000 UK consumers, and they found that 55.7% of them look forward to going on holiday more than any other event a year. And the next popular is Christmas, with only just 27%. And keeping up with the news and surveys and the busy weekend, Experian Credit Expert back in June said 9.3 million more British adults are set to take a summer holiday this year than in 2011. You're listening to the John Guinn Travel Show on seclosounds.org. You can contact the show via facebook.com/John Guinn Travel Show or via Twitter, which is @holiday_hut. A few days ago, I spoke to Ginny Hawksley from the British Virgin Islands Tourist Board about visiting the islands for a holiday to find out what there is to see and do. I did have a fairly good idea because I did visit there a few years ago. It's a great place to visit, very pretty. I remember sitting on the beach one night, looking across the sound at the other islands, thinking this view couldn't have changed for hundreds of years. There was only a few lights on the island across the sound, and you could quite easily imagine a pirate ship sailing past. The islands are made up of about 60 islands, inlet, rocks and keys grouped around the Sir Francis Drake Channel, and it's the north of the Leeward Islands and about 80 kilometres east of Puerto Rico. If you imagine that in your head about the Caribbean islands, it's a sort of a half-moon semicircle going up from Trinidad down off South America up to Florida. Well, British Virgin Islands are on the top bit. Anyhow, this is what Ginny had to say. What's it like compared to the other Caribbean islands?
I think that the difference is that we're made up, instead of being one island, we're made up of 60 islands, very small though, and most of them uninhabited. And while that makes it sound like a massive destination, actually it isn't. It takes 2 hours to go from one end of the destination to the other through all the islands. So that would be your longest sail, if you like, through them. Very unspoiled. We have no franchises. We don't have people trying to braid your hair or, sell you their market wares.
Yep.
We have very little crime because we have no unemployment.
Oh, how do you do that?
Because we have more tourism jobs than we actually have BV Islanders, we have to bring people in on work permits into the British Virgin Islands.
Okay.
They come in on a bond, which is paid to immigration, and if they were to mess about at all, that bond would be used to send them back out. As when you don't have unemployment and people aren't hungry and we don't have poverty, you don't get crime. And when people don't feel threatened for their life or worried about feeding their families,
Yeah, I have been
it's an
there.
easier way to live, you know?
I did spend a week there, and it is very laid back, and it was very nice. It kind of reminded me, I know it sounds sad, it reminded me of the Lake District, except that the lakes were a lot bigger because you had so many sort of hills coming out of the sea.
Except for Anegada, which is totally flat. Did you go to Anegada?
I didn't know.
Oh, okay. Anegada is a 16-mile coral island, and it's completely flat, and it's just basically beaches all the way round, and nothing to do there except relax and snorkel, basically, and eat lobster.
Okay.
That's totally different to the rest of the islands.
I'll have to do that one next time.
Yes.
You're known as Nature's Little Secrets. Why is that?
Because we are a little bit less well known. You know, there's no direct flights into us, and we do think that we're a treasure and that we're a gem because we are so unspoiled, and it's like the old Caribbean. But actually, it's my job to make it less of a secret. So hopefully, we will become less of one over the next couple of years.
Yep.
Just that many people don't, other than they've heard about Necker Island being in the British Virgin Islands, a lot of people haven't really travelled that far or got to know us yet.
You mentioned there's no direct flights. How do you get there?
So you fly from London from Gatwick
Yep.
to Antigua, and then from Antigua you either take a Liat flight in to Tortola, and then from Tortola to get out to all the hotels, unless you're actually staying on Tortola, you would take a boat. All the hotels have their own boats to pick up the guests and take them back to the hotels.
Yeah, that's what happened when we went to Virgin Gorda.
Where were you staying on Virgin Gorda?
Byres Creek.
Byres Creek, yeah, lovely.
It's my favourite hotel in the whole world.
I used to be the director of sales and marketing there, actually.
Oh, did you?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Great place.
And you left it? I don't understand.
I now have the best of both worlds.
We know how to get there, and Antigua's roughly 8 to 9 hours, isn't it?
Yes.
2 hours to get around.
Yes.
But when the pirates were around, is it true that it was really a pirate hideaway a couple of 100 years ago?
Yeah, absolutely. And all of the islands have got different stories about it, like pirate stories and why they got their names and that sort of thing.
So it wasn't a friendly place a couple of 100 years ago, then it was a little bit keep away.
I'm sure that some people were friendly. I'm not sure that the pirates were,
No.
but the indigenous people were.
All right. So there is indigenous people there. I didn't realise that.
Yeah, absolutely. With the Arawaks and the Caribs,
Oh, okay.
were the first people that lived there.
The weather there, what's it like?
Lovely pretty much all the year round. Because the islands are really small, there's always a breeze.
Yeah.
So while the weather is up in the 80s, as opposed to being on one big island where once you get sort of central on the island, it gets really hot. Because of we're small, and as you've seen for yourself, we're like mountainous islands,
Yeah.
there's always the trade winds. So it's always really breezy, except for sort of probably late August, September, October, which is sort of when we have the least tourists coming in anyway, because for the Caribbean, obviously that's the height of like hurricane season.
Yeah.
And actually for us, that's a time when a lot of the hotels close, and then they'll refurbish for the new season. And a lot of the people who are with us on work permits will at that point take their vacation from work and go home and see their families from the islands that they come from, whether, Guyana, St. Lucia, Dominican Republic, wherever.
Yeah, I remember Byres Creek was closing down not long after we...
Byres Creek closes every year and refurbishes because, the rooms are on that Atlantic side,
Yeah.
so they get a bit of a pounding. So the thing about sea air, while it's lovely to breathe it in, it corrodes everything and, can be really tough on you. So all the hotels need to do refurbishment constantly, actually, throughout the year on that stuff. But then in the summer, they tend to do like a really big refurbishment and, redo all the linens and things.
You mentioned the hurricane season. Do you ever get hit regularly?
I mean, all the Caribbean's got hurricanes coming through. Mostly they just they go out into the Atlantic or become tropical storms. I lived out there for 15 years, and I think there were only 3 in the whole time I was there, so they are rare.
So that's good.
And if there are anyway any guests in the hotels and things, you track them coming across the Atlantic, and you get people out.
Yep. I had somebody from the Hurricane Center in Miami on my show a couple of weeks ago and explaining it. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, you
Yeah,
can
all
track them from a long way off.
What's the official language there?
English.
English. That's handy.
Yeah, and the money is American,
Oh, so it's
US dollar.
US dollars. Any particular reason for the US dollars, or is it just easier?
We're just so close to America.
Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense to have a pound. Although most of the Caribbean, has Eastern Caribbean currency.
Yeah.
But that's actually another reason that people want to come and work in the British Virgin Islands, like from the other islands, because US dollar is worth about 8 times more than Eastern Caribbean currency.
Okay. So take dollars. Is there any compulsory vaccinations to take when you go over?
No,
None at all?
none. We haven't got anything horrible.
Oh, good. What about entry requirements for a UK passport holder?
No,
No, just pitch up.
just turn up, yep. You do need to have 6 months in your passport, though, when you're travelling to the Caribbean.
Okay, 6 months.
Mm.
And if you want to get married?
Very easy. Either through any of the hotels, they all have their own wedding coordinators
Yep.
that will sort out weddings for you, and you just need to live there for 24 hours. If you've been married before or anything like that, you need to have, or if you've been married and lost a partner, you need to have like the death certificate or your decree absolute. Other than that, you just rock up with your passports and pay a fee of less than a couple of $100 for the whole thing, and can be married 24 hours later.
It's pretty quick then.
hmm
I'm sure people stay longer than that, though.
Well, people tend to get married at the beginning, and then they stay on and have their honeymoon as their holiday. And they can either come and bring their families with them and their friends, or they can just, easily find witnesses in the hotels. And if people aren't staying in the hotels, if they're on a boat or if they're just independently self-catering, then at the tourist board, then we can help them with finding a wedding coordinator on island to help them with all the paperwork.
So if they want to do it themselves, they just contact you and it's
Yep.
all sorted. That's
If they
pretty
can
good.
contact us for anything, we can help them with anything. That's what we're here for.
So I guess it's not all luxury hotels then. There is a mix of
No.
accommodation.
No, and it's actually, sort of historically people think of the British Virgin Islands as being really expensive and exclusive. And actually the truth is that we're exclusive, but actually there's lots of properties as well that aren't that expensive. And we have a selection of properties which we call the jewels, which are local inns and villas and small hotels, all locally owned and very inexpensive. And you can stay there for as little as £70 a night.
That's pretty cheap. A lot
Yeah.
cheaper than Barras Creek.
Yes, that's true.
What are the beaches like there?
Beautiful. They are all white sand beaches, and hardly ever, they're never crowded. Maybe at the baths, which is our biggest tourist attraction, you might find a group of people, but generally they're very, very quiet.
I'm pretty sure I remember that there's no such thing as a private beach.
No.
So you could, if you wanted to, go over to Necker Island and stand on the beach?
Well, you could, except that Necker Island is surrounded by coral. So if you've got a boat or if you chartered a boat, you're not allowed to take it over there because there's too much coral. Really, only the local boat drivers can find their way through the coral to get there.
I'm glad I didn't try that now then. I
Yeah.
would have got in trouble. Speaking of boats, when I was there I saw loads of them. Do you get more UK visitors chartering yachts than those who stay on land?
Yes, we have more guests everywhere chartering boats than stay on land because we have more berths on boats than we have beds in hotels.
Do people just go around your islands or do they go further afield?
No, not really. They tend to just stay with. We're very different to the US Virgin Islands, so they do tend to stay in the British Virgin Islands when they're sailing with us. Also, British nationals cannot go into the US Virgin Islands on a private boat. So the only way that they could enter into the US by boat would be on a public ferry. So that if they were chartering on a private boat, they wouldn't be able to sail over there anyway from the UK. And we have, as I said, 60 islands, and you're never more than 2 hours sailing from your local, the nearest anchorage. You could stay 2 weeks there and still not get to see all of our islands. So Why would you leave?
Why would you? That solves my next question then. It's not easy just to pop over to the US Virgin Islands then,
It is if you take a public ferry.
but not if you're a charter yacht.
No, you can't from the UK.
Very welcoming, isn't it?
What, the US?
Yeah, you can't mention that, sorry.
That's actually not true, because if they have a US visa in their passport, then they can take a private boat in. But most British people don't have a US visa these days, because they just have the ESTA
Yeah.
for flying in.
Okay, so I need a visa.
But it's really different anyway, the US Virgin Islands. It's a totally different, it's very busy, lots of cruise ships, lots of shops, franchises. It's a whole totally different feel. So most people that are coming to holiday in the British Virgin Islands are probably sort of wanting to escape that rather than go to it on holiday.
Yeah. I always mention food when I talk to people about destinations. It's because I'm a vegan and I'm just missing all the stuff I used to eat.
Right.
Is there a national dish to the Virgin Islands?
The thing we're most famous for is our fish with mayonnaise sauce, which is obviously no good to you being a vegan.
No.
But then we also have lovely local ground provisions, like plantain and callaloo and things like that, which you can get in all of the islands. But
Yeah, we stayed at the Sugar Mill as well as the Boris Creek, and
Okay.
I think that had one of the best restaurants in the Caribbean, I seem to remember at the time.
yeah, they've got a lot of awards actually.
So do you have many top-notch restaurants?
We do. Yep, absolutely. We've got a brand new one opened on Virgin Gorda called Coco Maya. Then we also have on Tortola, since you were there probably, Sugar Mill is still there and serving excellent food. Obviously, Boris Creek, as you know, is renowned for its food. But we've got Coco Maya on Virgin Gorda, and we've got the Dove and Brandywine Bay on Tortola, which are also really famous for outstanding food.
Do you have a favourite place when you're around?
A favourite place to eat?
Yeah.
Where's my favourite place to eat? I really like to eat local food when I'm there, so I tend to be round with friends. But if I'm out for local foods, there's a supermarket in Tortola called Bobby's, and I like to go in there and for like $6 get a takeaway of lots of different choices. There's also a wonderful little local restaurant on Virgin Gorda called Sugar Apple. And the food there is incredible, but you have to get there early at lunchtime or it's all sold out. And then if I'm really pushing the boat out and want to have a fabulous, expensive night out, I would do the Monday night seafood buffet at Little Dix Bay.
So that's all your secrets out now.
Yeah, but you don't eat anything all day because it is incredible.
That'd be no good for me. I can't go a couple of hours without having a little chew on something. So we've covered the food and the boats. What else should a tourist do when they're out there?
We'll go to the baths. Everybody comes to the baths. They're incredible. These massive boulders, taller than buildings. Did you do that when you were there?
I didn't know.
Okay, these huge, gigantic boulders where the sun comes through the top and the ocean comes through at the bottom, hence the reason they're called the baths, because it makes these little pools of water, and they are incredible and something not to be missed. And that is the only place that you would ever sort of draw a crowd, because pretty much everyone that goes to BVI makes sure that they go to the baths. But there's also some beaches that people don't even go to that I love, like Spring Bay on Virgin Gorda, which is gorgeous and also has many of these boulders. Little hideaway places, little beaches in the North Sound, where you can just fit two people and literally just take like a little dinghy and go and, hang out there and just be there by yourselves for the day. Gorda Peak on Virgin Gorda, absolutely incredible. You climb to the top of that and you can look down over the whole of the North Sound, out to Necker Island as far as Anegada.
I got halfway.
Oh, did you?
It's too hot. I couldn't
Oh,
do it.
really?
Yeah.
Oh, it's so beautiful. It's well worth the hike. There's also Anegada. It's amazing. Most people don't get to go out there. But I would say to anybody staying in a hotel in Virgin Gorda, jump on a day trip and go there because it's absolutely beautiful.
Is there any nightlife to do as well?
Nightlife in Spanish Town in Virgin Gorda, you'll find things going on. There's the Rock Cafe and Sam's Piano Bar. That goes on until quite late. And then over on Tortola, obviously being the capital island, you can find things going on in Road Town late at night. But most of the hotels, close down relatively early. People tend to get up early in the Caribbean and get out and do things. But the Bitter End Yacht Club in North Sound has lots of fun things going on. They have music 3 nights a week. They have a Monday night mash-up with a disco, and then they have bands on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And Leverick Bay on Virgin Gorda has, on a Friday night, a fantastic barbecue and local band playing, and they have the stilt walkers, what we call the Moko Jumbies, dancing. And also every full moon at Trellis Bay we have a fantastic party which is celebrated by locals and tourists down on Trellis Bay at Beef Island, Tortola. And they have the Moko Jumbies there, and they have a big fireball in the water that they set light to, and yeah, that's fun.
So time it for the right moon.
Yes.
When I was there was loads of bunting out. I think that was Emancipation Day or something.
Okay, so we have two carnivals actually.
Yep.
We have our main one, which is next week in Tortola, which is the first Monday in August, Tuesday and Wednesday. So it's a 3-day national holiday, and there'll be carnival all next week in Tortola. And then on Virgin Gorda we have a smaller one, which is at Easter, which is just a 1 day on the Monday.
What sort of things go on these places? These things?
Dancing, bands playing, lots of different local food and drinks to try. And the great thing about, because we are, practically crime-free and it's such a safe place, it's wonderful because tourists are welcome to join in, and they never would feel threatened. They'd be welcomed by the locals and get to really enjoy a proper Caribbean festival.
Is there any dressing up involved?
If they want to.
Yeah?
Yep.
What should I wear if I wanted to join him?
As little as possible and lots of feathers.
Okay, loads of feathers. How can the listeners find out more about the islands?
The best thing really is to call us here in the BVI Tourist Board in London. And there's myself and Lorna and Mia, and we've all lived out there for many years. We know it really well. We can help them put an itinerary together, or listen to what it is that they, what they're looking for, what their likes and dislikes are, and recommend where we think are the best places for them to visit or stay within their price range.
I can just give your number out, please.
0207 355 9585.
Okay. Do you have a website as well?
We do. It's bvitourism.co.uk.
When you're on a holiday, you can't find the words to say all the things that come to you, and I wanna feel it too.
That was Islands in the Sun by Weezer, and it was this week's cheesy song. I know everybody was probably expecting me to play Like a Virgin by Madonna, but I really can't stand that track, and there was no way I was going to listen to it for a few minutes. So I chose Islands in the Sun. Don't worry, my cheesy tune will probably be back to normal for my next show. Other things you can do in the British Virgin Islands include dive in the Rhone. It's a world famous dive site, the wreck of the RMS Rhone. Apparently it's one of the best wreck sites in the Caribbean. It's just off Salt Island, and at least 2 dives are needed to cover both the bow and stern sections. You can admire the scenery by taking a walk through Mount Sage National Park, from where you can get fine views of the surrounding islands. You can take to the skies with a helicopter tour, get an amazing scenic picture of the islands and the reefs. Miranda along Main Street in Road Town, Tortola, which is the capital of the BVI. It's where most of the population live. They're brightly coloured, painted wooden buildings house arts and craft boutiques, rum shops, crafts restaurants, and the folk museum, which I did pop into, and it is worth popping in to get a history of the islands. There is splendid isolation, as been mentioned. Loads of little beaches you can find your way to. And believe it or not, it's good for surfing too. You can book a British Virgin holiday with the following tour operators: Carib Tours, Carrier, Elegant Resorts, Seasons, Sunset Far Away, Kuoni, and Western and Oriental. Or of course you could just pop into your preferred travel agent and they could book something for you. Don't forget there's not a direct route between here and the Virgin Islands, so make sure that your luggage allowance is acceptable for both the airlines you'll be using. You may find that you'll have too much on your Virgin for your LIAT flight, so do take care when it comes to packing. With the connections from the British Virgin Islands to America, it can make a nice little twin centre. Perhaps you should take the kids and your parents over to Florida for Disney World and all the other theme parks. Then the grandparents can take the kids home, while the parents can take a few days out while flying back via the British Virgin Islands and just chill out for a few days before going back to the family. Or of course you can go in the winter, do some shopping in New York, send it back via FedEx or some other method, and then just nip into the Virgin Islands on the way home, so you've got your shopping done and you've got a nice town to come home to take home with you as well. It's definitely worth taking a trip. They are great islands and I thoroughly recommend them. You're listening to the John Guinn Travel Show on setclosesounds.org. You can contact the show via facebook.com/John Guinn Travel Show or via Twitter, which is @holiday_hut. Like everybody else here at Set Close Sounds, I'm a volunteer, and we are looking for more people who could be interested in volunteering to help Set Close Sounds become a full-time broadcasting station. We're not just looking for presenters, DJs, but we're also looking for admin staff, technical staff, even marketing staff. In fact, any skill you think you can bring to the station, why not contact us and have a chat about becoming a volunteer here. You can contact the station at radio@setclosesounds.org. I've been going for just over a year now, and being a presenter on this show has opened up many things for me. So it's been fun for me. I've met some interesting people, but it is fun, it is hard work, but you never know where it might lead. So again, if you've got a skill you think you can bring to the station, contact us at radio@setclosesounds.org and just come along for a chat.
Fitness Bites, the show which gets you raring to go for the week ahead. Join Anna
and Julia every Monday 1 till 2 p.m. on Set Close Sounds, the ultimate show discussing exercise, nutrition and well-being.
Fitness Bites on Set Close Sounds, Mondays 1 till 2 p.m. Tune in and move it!
I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it.
The Drive Time Show with Nigel G every Monday to Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. online at setclosesounds.org. The best mix of music and fun to wind down your day. Listen out for a slice of cheese, the rotten tomato, and remember the bees. Intrigued? Don't miss the Drive Time Show with Nigel G every Monday to Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. on setclosesounds.org.
Well, it's finally here. It's school summer holiday times. Perhaps you've already been anticipating this for weeks, perhaps even months, and it's all booked and you're just raring to go. But how do you ensure that this trip is a holiday heaven and not holiday hell? Well, I have a few tips here for you to ensure that you have the best family holiday ever. Tip number 1, check your travel insurance. Does it really provide enough cover for all your family? Some activities which you may believe are just normal family fun, such as even playing football, may not be covered in the standard policy. Write down all the things that you're planning to do and check the insurance small print. If you're travelling to a European country, ensure that you all have an e-hit card and make sure you carry this with you at all times. This card will enable you to get emergency medical treatment as a local would. You may have to pay for treatment in some countries, and the e-hit website will tell you which ones they are, but in most cases you should be able to claim the money back. The website is www.nhs.uk/EHIC. Passports. Possibly a little bit late now, but are everybody's passports up to date? Child passports are only valid for 5 years, so you should really check well in advance, and some countries insist on a minimum of 6 months left after the date of return, so you could be in for a bit of a panic if you find out your passports have run out. Nearly 290,000 people left passport renewal until the last minute in 2012. You can find entry requirements and links to renew your passports at www.gov.uk/FCO. Tip 3. Get a packing checklist. Don't leave anyone or anything behind. Write down everything that you need to pack and tick it off when you do pack it. If you need to take medication with you, check the medicine's legal status in your destination country. Or every country you have to pass through customs on the way to your final destination. Not all prescription drugs or even over-the-counter medication are legal in every country. Did you know that Vicks inhalers are forbidden in Japan? You can use an online service such as packinglistonline.com to put your list together. Order your food for the family's fussy eater is tip number 4. Do you have a family member who only eat their food if it's covered in a certain sauce? Or do they only eat a certain brand of baked beans? Perhaps it's something more serious and they have a dietary requirement for health reasons. Then you should contact the hotel and surrounding restaurants before you leave to ensure that they can cater for the whole family. Any meal is normally possible if the kitchen is given enough warning. The local office of the destination's tourist board should be able to help you to provide letters in the local language if you have a family member with a serious food allergy. Tip number 5 is have a plan for the journey. This is really important for a long haul flight. Some children are quieter than others, but all noisy children annoy other passengers. Make sure that you have a plan to keep your children happy and contented throughout the whole trip, whether it's in a plane, on a boat, in a car, or even on a train. And don't forget to prepare for delays, so include the following in your hand luggage: a change of clothes for everyone, healthy food, medicines, and most importantly, game chargers and adapters. Pack some surprises too, such as the game or book that somebody wanted. This might be given out at a stressful time. You might want to consider dressing the kids in old disposable clothes, so if the worst does happen, you can bin the items when you have to change them. Even though you're travelling as a family, tip number 6 is make sure you plan some couple time. Don't forget this is a chance for parents to have a holiday too, so do try and spend some time away from the kids for a romantic meal or something else. Some hotels have evening kids clubs so they can be safely looked after there, or maybe there is a babysitting service. It's important to have this chill time, as family holidays can sometimes be a little bit full on. Important tip number 7 is safety. Accidents do happen, but some may be avoided if some checks were carried out on arrival. Planning for the worst is not necessarily the best way to settle into your new home, but do take a few moments to carry out simple checks such as check the fire escape route. Is it easy for the whole family to negotiate? If not, ask for a different room. Check all the electrical sockets in the room to ensure that they are safe from finger poking. Check all the furniture for sharp edges, loose rugs, and the railings of the balcony are suitable too. Check the hotel's public areas such as pool, drinks machines, flooring. Is there a lifeguard on duty? Do you know how to get help if there's an emergency? What are the local rules for the beach? Do you understand the flags? Is there likely to be sea anemones in the water close to the shore? Then make sure your child has their feet covered at all times. And finally, and most importantly probably, is there adequate shade available on the beach or in public areas? Tip number 8 is find the free things. Most cities have things to do that are free. There may also be discounted public transport schemes too, so check the local listings from museums, parks and other things to see and do before rushing down to book trips with the hotel or the tour rep. If you plan ahead, it's even possible to do things for free in Walt Disney World, Florida. Do remember that all-day sightseeing isn't everybody's idea of fun, so remember have to set some time for some resting as well. Tip number 9 is probably something you may not have thought about, but you should get everybody to write a diary of the trip. This will help everybody to feel involved with the trip, and it makes suggestions for things to do the next day. And of course, it can help you to look back at a great time you've had together. Finally, tip number 10, learn lessons from the trip. Do make a note of all the things that work for you and things that you may wish you had done differently. Perhaps add all these at the end of the diary for your trip. Then you'll be ready to plan for the next great adventure. And now for some travel news. When I look back, I think probably my worst ever travel experience was a one-night cruise, if you can call it that, on a cruise ship, new cruise ship being launched. A load of travel agents went down to experience it, and the reason I didn't like it is because there was no decent food for a vegan, and I was teetotal at the time, and if you're on a boat full of 1,000 or so drunk travel agents, being the only sober one there doesn't make for a great trip. Although this didn't go well for me, it pales in significance to what people are claiming that happened to them on their Carnival cruise, who are now facing a class action from passengers who are claiming that the hot tubs on its ships are infested with a flesh-eating bacteria. Lawyers for the passengers say that the passengers contracted folliculitis streptococcus aureus, and you know I've not made a good job of pronouncing that, and also MRSA infections. It's just easier to say flesh-eating bacteria without doing the long scientific name. But these are the hot tubs are on the Carnival ships Fascination and Paradise. Carnival say that the guests may be rest assured that these shipboard amenities are maintained via strict standards and practices to ensure a clean and safe environment. Maybe there was a flesh-eating bacteria in the hot tubs. We'll probably find out in a year or so. Sticking with cruise ships, if a cruise ship docks in an American port, the US Centre for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, can hold snap inspections, and a Silver Sea ship, the Silver Shadow, failed such a snap inspection, and that the inspectors found that the crew on the ship made a concerted effort to ensure that things were hidden from them. The inspection team reported that more than 15 full trolleys of dry foods, spices, canned food, cooked foods, milk, raw meats, pasteurised eggs, cheeses, baking goods, raw fruit, raw vegetables, and a variety of food equipment, pans, dishware and essentials were hidden in 10 crew cabins in order to avoid inspection by the vessel sanitation programme staff. The report does note that the perishable goods found in the crew cabins were thrown away. There was a list of 49 violations, which includes improper reporting of acute gastroenteritis outbreaks among crew members and numerous issues with food preparation. And it is quite embarrassing for the cruise company Silver Sea, who are a world-class cruise company. Back in April, the Silver Spirit scored a maximum 100 for cleanliness. And the previous inspection, the 382-passenger Silver Shadow back in September 2012, saw a score of 95. And the Silver Shadow's latest score was 82, which is 4 points below the minimum standard. Silver Sea say that a full investigation has been carried out into the circumstances that have led to this, and a number of steps have been taken to ensure that standards of food hygiene in particular are of the highest order. There is a problem with a cruise once you're on it, you're stuck. But it is a rare occurrence that a ship fails such an inspection. If you're a regular listener, you may recall that I've had flightsdelayed.co.uk on a few times, talking about getting flight compensation for a delayed or cancelled flight. But there's always been a get-out clause for the airlines called extraordinary circumstances, which made for a massive grey area. Well, the European Commission, hopefully, have now come up with a way to ensure that this grey area is more black and white, and they have a long list of what isn't an extraordinary circumstance and what is. So hopefully the airlines will find it harder to wriggle out of paying compensation. Under EU regulations, passengers whose flights are cancelled within 2 weeks of departure or arrive more than 3 hours late are entitled to compensation ranging from refreshments, accommodation, phone calls, to cash payments of up to €600. But I say only if the issue was within the airline's control. I've got a copy of the list of what is accepted airline control and what isn't. I'm going to run through some of them now, but being an EU document, it's pretty dry reading, and there seems to be entries which are a little bit confusing because they seem to have already been covered with an earlier listing. So for those who are going to Tunisia, they're probably not entitled to any compensation for the flights that were delayed on Friday, because war, political instability is seen to be without the control of the airline, which I guess is fair enough. Then number 3 is an unlawful act such as terrorism. But then it comes up with sabotage as another entry. Well, I would have thought that would have been an unlawful act. And there's 5 entries for security. So why there's 5 entries instead of just 1, I don't know, but that's the EU. So if the airport is closed, that's out of the airline's control. Bomb scare, bomb discovery, hijacking, unaccompanied baggage. If a passenger is forcibly removed, that's not down to the airline either. And then there's weather problems. Another 5 separate sections for weather or meteorological problems. So that's not down to the airline either. If the airport is closed, then you're not going to get compensation. If a passenger or crew member becomes seriously ill or dies on board, again, that's out of the control of the airline. Bird strikes. Actually, I saw a video of a Thompson flight that hit a bird on takeoff, but it just did a loop and came back down quite safely, but the engine was chucking out flames. Again, you're not going to get any compensation for that. Manufacturing defects. Another reason you're not going to get any money back. So there are 30 listed reasons about why your compensation is not going to be coming to you. But this is the best bit. This is the list of circumstances that are not extraordinary and you should get compensation for. Technical issues which arise as a result of the air carrier's failure to maintain its aircraft in accordance with the required maintenance programme. I was delayed going to Antigua and they put that down as extraordinary circumstances. But looking at this, the technical issue, perhaps it wasn't and they should have given me some money back. Technical issues which were found during maintenance where the part or system in question was scheduled to be checked, which means basically if the maintenance is overrunning, that's a reflection of a poor maintenance planning, and if you're delayed because of that, you're entitled to compensation. If the crew's out of hours, they've done their hours and they can't take off, well again that's down to poor planning by the airline, so there'll be compensation there. If they've not filled out the paperwork and submitted it in time, which is necessary to enable the flight to operate, poor planning again, cash should be coming your way, or a meal. And safety assessment of foreign aircraft, or SAFA inspections, which reveal technical issues which require immediate assessment and or repair, which are issues which should have been picked up in the routine maintenance. So if you're on a flight, you've been delayed, probably best check with flight-delayed.co.uk to see if you're entitled to some compensation, or you could Google EU 261 to see what the latest news is on that. And if you are after a compensation, good luck, and please let me know via facebook.com/Guinn Travel Show, or via Twitter at holiday_hut how you got on. And that's the end of the travel news. Well, that's the end of this week's show. I hope you enjoyed the feature of the British Virgin Islands. I just can't speak highly enough of it as a destination, so please do check it out. Hopefully the Google information will help you as well when you're looking for another holiday. And I do hope that the cruise news hasn't put you off going on a cruise. Don't forget, if you've got any suggestions for the show, you can contact me via facebook.com/John Guinn Travel Show, or via Twitter, which is at holiday_hut. And please join me next week for another edition of the John Guinn Travel Show.
All my bags are packed, I'm ready to go. I'm standing here outside your door. I hate to wake you up to say goodbye, but the dawn is breaking, it's early morn. Taxi's waiting, he's blowing his horn. Already I'm so lonesome I could cry. So kiss me and smile for me. Tell me that you'll wait for me. Hold me like you'll never let me go. I'm leaving on a jet plane. I don't know when I'll be back again. Oh babe, I hate to go. There's so many times I've let you down. So many times I've played around. I tell you now, they don't mean a thing. Every place I go, I think of you. Every song I sing for you. When I come back, I'll wear your wedding ring. So kiss me and smile for me. Tell me that you'll wait for me. Hold me like you'll never let me go. I'm leaving on a jet plane. I don't know when I'll be back again. Oh babe, I hate to go. Now the time has come to leave you. One more time, let me kiss you, then close your eyes. I'll be on my way. Dream about the days to come when I won't have to leave alone. About the time I won't have to say. Kiss me and smile for me. Tell me that you'll wait for me. Hold me like you'll never let me go. I'm leaving on a jet plane. I don't know when I'll be back again. Leaving on a jet plane. I don't know when I'll be back again.
MK Pulse proudly sponsors Seclo Sounds. MK Pulse is Milton Keynes' local magazine, bringing helpful information on food, health, fashion, money, travel, culture, and much more to 66,000 readers every month. Plus news, views, and what's on from around the city. If it's happening in Milton Keynes, it's in MK Pulse, and it's available online at www.mkpulse.co.uk. MK Pulse and Seclo Sounds, the heart and soul of the city.